Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. I got a haircut. Check this out. Yeah. So there you go. Looking sharp. Just had to register for new passport. So let me show you the mountains. I haven't seen the mountains for a while. Oh, so I'm here in Georgia. I've been here for like a couple of years, and they call it the $1,000,000 view. They got a little creek that runs past my house, and when it's not cloudy, you can see over. That's Russia over there. So I'm on the corner. This Azerbaijan is over on this side, over those mountains, and then it's Russia on that side. So I'm in Georgia on the corner of Russia, Azerbaijan. It's a nice place to be. I like it here. I bought this apartment 2, 3 years ago, and I've just been doing some renovation and living here. So in the morning, I go out and I do work in this little park here. I'm trying to I can't really see it from here. Anyways, let's get back to coding. All right. Now, remember back in the day when I used to talk about Roboslav? Well, I still talk to Roboslav, and he is like a real computer programmer. Where's Roboslav? Yeah, it's in my to-do list. So this was back in the day. Remember when I used to have videos about this? Prime Minister, courses authoring interface. Now, what I've done here, so I was talking about building courses or having some kind of authoring program, and then like what would that interface actually look like? So now we've actually replaced that with Arrowhead app. Well, we could just call it a website, web-based app. Now Roboslav actually he stopped doing this, so he stopped sending messages to, and then the designer, the AI tool automation process. The designer actually, she told me today she got fired. So, like literally yesterday, she got the announcement. So it means that Roboslav is no longer an influencer in the digital space. The designer is no longer automating with automation tools. And the prime minister is still building a product. He's still building the. So anyway, so Roboslav, he gave me some advice about the database, and it was kind of interesting. Let's jump into the the database, the schema. The schema. All right, so we're gonna. All right, now what happened was basically, Roboslav. Can you hear me? I should always check on that. Yeah, it must have worked. Okay. So you can see the database structure. Um, well, maybe we should start with the actual app. All right, let's go into the very bottom doc version of my application. And okay, we got our history. So we got the project. What's wrong with that? Okay, so I just can't see. And then we got our history. Now, what are we going to do today? So let's just do a touch base. And we're going to be talking about the database. Talk about the database. And then I guess we're gonna next steps. We're gonna do next steps. Now, when we talk about next steps, it almost sounds like that should be an objective, right? If we're talking about next steps, it should be an objective. Well, let's talk about the database first. So we'll jump into this. So what was the old one? Chat instructions. Create an MVP. Follow ChatGPT instructions. All right, so this is old news. We're moving on. So what I did was I created a. What are you working on? So it's not what I am working on. What was I working on? So I used ChatGPT. I used ChatGPT to create the SQL instructions for Supabase, and that created a database structure. And then I showed that structure to Roboslav. And he's like asking me this weird question. He's like, "Hey, do you know the difference between what was it called even? I don't even remember what it was called." He was like, "There's the app data and then there's the business data." And I was like, "App data? Business data? What are you talking about?" All right, let's check ChatGPT. So I couldn't understand what he was saying, and I just told him like, "Okay, can you just talk to ChatGPT for me? Because I don't really know what you're saying." All right, so here I need the layout for the full Supabase database structure for this application in the form of SQL editor, and the full explanation in plain English, so I can make sure everything is correct. Remember, we talked about this last time, I think, in the last video. And then I probably realized after I read that there may have been some kind of mistakes. I just need to copy and paste it. Okay, at that point, I think I agreed. So what's the next step? The database setup. So then this is it tells me how to like do everything. I'm gonna turn off my computer now. Tomorrow we'll continue with the above steps. Yeah, I was like, what do I need to do? Open your project folder. Open your React project using VS Code. Check your environment files. Navigate. Yeah, here. So it actually did tell me that. Top of this is actually my product's requirement document, but I decided to do this because this is a project management app. And this has really got me confused because it's like when I turn my computer on again, you have to open your terminal and then you have to go to your project management app or whatever you're calling your file. And this is a Node.js file. So I don't even remember how I created that, but I asked ChatGPT to help me create it. And then you have to like npm install. They say you don't have to do it every time, but if there's a problem, you might have to do that. And then you could put npm start. Then what that does is it opens up this page in your browser. It's running your app. So there's a couple of different things I'm confused about, which is because I don't have a code base. So, what's feeding this? What's the connection? Like, what am I connecting? Because remember, we have Supabase, we have the data, and then we have Cursor. And then it also told me that we need something called Vercel.com. And then we also GitHub. None of these things are connected yet. So we have connected so far is I got ChatGPT to guide me through the process of installing Node.js onto my computer. And then then I asked it like every single time, like when I start working, what's the actual workflow? Like if I turn off my computer right now, how do we get back into it? So far instructions, I turn on my computer, open a terminal, then I navigate. This CD means it goes to the directory where this is basically like double clicking on a file folder that's called PM app. You don't always have to do this. and then you have to do this. Now, once you click this, then it's going to go beep, bop, boop, and this is going to show up. All right, great. So happy. And now, before we move to the next step, I just want to explain what did we do? What happened with so after I had this database, I was so happy. Remember in the last video, I was like, yeah, I got a database. I'm a cool guy. I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do next? So open your project, open your React project using VS Code or your preferred coding editor. Okay, so we still have this issue. In fact, and then what is this? Check your environment. Ensure your environment file is still there with your Supabase credentials. Okay, so I don't have Supabase connected to my project folder, and I'm coding. I'm going to be coding using Cursor. So yeah, you see, these are things that like non-coding people were just like, what do we do next? Because is it Cursor? So I'm guessing we have to be connecting Cursor. I'm gonna have a React folder. Open your React folder, project folder using. Oh, what are we gonna do there? Let's try that first. Let's do this. I need to do this right now because I mean there are some other things that I want to talk about, but I can't do that yet. The question is, can I find it? I'm going to show you my whole screen. Entire screen. Okay. Now let's go back to here. All right, so it says open your React project. And the question is, where is my React project? Here's my terminal. Okay, you can now view PM app in the browser. I just want to check if the audio is working. Oh, that tough guy. Can you hear me? Yes, good. All right. PM app. So my question is like, sounds like PM app. It's here. All right. Now, so I want to know, where is this folder? This shows my literacy. I have no idea. How do I check the hierarchy? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Cursor. And then I'm going to do a new project. Open folder. It's no longer going to be that one. It's going to be PM app. There. Now, do I have the rules in here? Or do I have to update? Do I have to write my rules again? Rules. Rules. Okay, my rules are in here. I got my project requirements doc. Here's my rules. Here's my rules. Instruction compliance. Always follow the user's instructions precisely. Clarify unclear information before proceeding. Never assume missing details. Use best practices or request clarification. AI-guided planning before coding. Generate pseudocode for complex tasks and request user confirmation before coding. Directly generate code for simple tasks while providing a brief explanation. Ensure logical structuring of code before implementation. Complete and verify implementation. Ensure all required functionality is fully implemented before making a task complete. Marking a task complete. Validate the following before finalizing. All necessary imports are included. No missing logic or placeholders. Code runs without errors. Perform an AI-driven self-review checklist before marking completion. Code quality and maintainable enforcement. Enforce clean, readable, and modular code instruction. Code structure. Prefer modular functions unless inline code improves simplicity. Use clear descriptive variable and function names. Auto-format code to maintain consistency. Enforce standard naming convention, including prefixes, event functions with the handle. AI-assisted testing or error handling. Auto-generate unit tests for critical functions. Validate code against common runtime errors before submission. Ensure error handling is robust and includes necessary safeguards. Recommend improvements for better error management. Automated code optimization and refactoring. Suggest performance optimizations, but only apply them automatically if they do not reduce readability. Request user confirmation before applying optimization that significantly changed logic. Perform minor refactors automatically to enforce clarity. Context-aware explanations. Provide explanations for complex logic, but avoid excessive verbosity. Offer explanations only when necessary or when the user requests clarification. Auto-generate documentation comments for complex functions. And then for number 8, there's a step-by-step workflow. So step 1, ensure task definition. Ensure the task is clearly stated. Prompt the user for missing details or guidance if required. Planning and pseudocode. Generate pseudocode for complex logic. Request confirmation before proceeding. Step 3, code generation and validation. Generate code following best practices. Verify code structure and required functionality before moving to the next step. Step 4, testing and debugging. Generate and suggest relevant tests. Check for common errors and suggest fixes. Ensure error handling measures are in place. Step 5, final review and optimization. Suggest refinements and performance optimizations. Validate that all requirements are met. Mark the task complete only after final verification. Final execution guidelines. Prioritize correctness, readability, and maintainability. Enforce structured development workflows. Reduce the burden of decision-making on the junior developer, that's me, by automating best practices. Provide step-by-step guidance while allowing user-driven adjustments. Okay. So I'm going to just copy this and put it into my user rules. Good. Now, I'm just going to close this and check this one more time. Looks like everything's good. All right. Now, the thing is that all right, so let's go into this one. So we're going to go into the agent, right? So could you save this product requirements document so that it can be referred to as we discuss the process of further development. I think I'll just copy and paste the whole thing. I hope you save this PDR in a structured way that it will be easy to Reference during development. First, let me create a dedicated directory for documentation. Save the PIR there. I'll create the docs directory, store the documents, including PIR, save as markdown for better and version control. Jeez. Now I'll create the PDR file in markdown format. That's interesting that the rules, because my rules are actually also in markdown format. Hopefully that's, because I was just thinking about that. I was like, well, my rules are in markdown format. I wonder if that's a problem. Okay, we got the rules, we got the PDR objective. I used ChatGPT to create the SQL instructions for Superbase, and that created a database structure. Showed it to Roboslav. True dat, I did that. Okay, so now I'll create the PDR file in markdown format. I've saved the PDR as well as markdown. The document's been structured with proper markdown headings. Sections properly formatted with headers, subheaders. This document can now be referenced throughout the development process, and it will be easy to update. Would you like me to help start implementing a specific part of this PDR? All right, now let's go back to cursor. So I got my React project folder. Yes, and it's in my cursor. Good. Check your environment files. Ensure that your environment file is still there with your Superbase credentials. No changes should be necessary. Everything is set up properly. Okay, now before I do that, let's just go back. I just want to explain that situation. So what happened, specifically what happened is here. As you might know, as you might remember, this is my project. And in my project, it's a really simple app to help new managers. The idea is that new managers, they need to have 5 muscles. The first muscle is they need to understand these 5 questions about their project. Their second muscle is, well, they need to make a choice before they can decide what their second next muscle is. And it's about, like, do you have an objective in mind? Do you know what that objective is? If we go back to here, you can see that I have an objective, which is called See ChatGPT. See ChatGPT. So the objective right now is this. I need to open my project. So I'm just following some instructions in ChatGPT. So I'm actually having a hard time following my own process inside of this app because my objective isn't very clear. But as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm working through the process of using this thinking methodology in order to actually create this app. And all right, so then what are we doing? We're just following GPT instructions. And then right now we're creating this database. So before I add the Superbase credentials to my cursor, before I add the Superbase credentials to cursor, I just wanted to explain. Yeah, so now I'm trying to say 3 things at the same time. Let's finish talking about this first. So if you're a new manager, you need to be able to understand these 5 questions about vision and strategy. I removed the word strategy because everybody uses that word and it's meaningless if everyone applies a different meaning to it. So if it's a meaningless word, why don't we just leave the word vision? And I think this is a better way to look at vision. That's a word. That's a word I'm willing to debate about. That's an argument I'm willing to have, and I'm building my software on top of these 5 questions, and therefore I've called that vision. I'm also willing to argue about these 4 other muscle groups. One's objective, brainstorm, touch base, choose, and basically you have 2 different pathways. There's one pathway if you know what you need to do, if you have an objective in mind, means you know the answer to these questions. If you know the answer to these questions, then you will definitely be able to create one of these scoreboards. And the scoreboard is simple. Like the scoreboard in business is basically performance. Did you complete the task or not? There's only 2 things in business. The thing is like making a task and then completing the task. And if you're making the right kinds of tasks and you're completing them within some reasonable amount of time, likely you're making money. So the question is, well, how do you create an objective? Now, if you're the manager, but somebody's telling you what you should be doing, then you know what the objective is because somebody's telling you to do it. But if you're an entrepreneur, then that means that you have to create your own objectives. So if you're not really sure what those objectives should be, then this is where I go to the work of Thomas Buchholz. And from his book, I've created a subset of some ideas from his book. That is going to get you in a brainstorming. That brainstorming process is going to give you some ideas of what your objective should be. And then another tool from his book allows you to make a decision about the objective to pursue, which then brings you back to the objective muscle. Then you're creating a scoreboard. Once you have a task list, then you're onto this page, which is called touch base, which is like, what are you going to be doing today? And sometimes if you're not sure what to do, like you're not really sure how to create an objective and like this is too big for you to think about, like you know you need to do something, but you're not really sure exactly that process or what to do. Like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing a lot of touch bases because it's like it's like whoo, 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 whoo. It's like when you're trying to get your car out of the snow, like you have to just kind of add the gas when it's rolling forward and then let go and then gas and then let go. And then at some point you get enough inertia to start moving forward. See, it's once your car starts to like move forward, then you can start saying, okay, I have objectives now. Like I'm trying to reach the store and then I need to turn right, turn left, do this, do that to reach the store. And then I got another objective. I want to go to my friend's house. You see? So right now I'm like in the snow and I'm just like trying to get this thing started. And I almost had a major fail even from the beginning. Why? Because the thing is that there's two principles, there's two ideas here. You can't actually see it in this version of this picture, but you can see it in the version on my screen. So if we jump into this image, you can see that in the profile, one of the major issues in the profile is this idea of like when I open your app, am I opening up to an unpopulated menu? Or am I opening up to where I left off? So what does that mean? It means like, well, this is so in my case, when I open up my app in my Word in the Google Doc, then I'm opening it up to this. What does this represent? This represents the main menu because I'm looking at the main menu and then trying to figure out where to go. You see? So that is opening up to this, which means what? Always open to an unpopulated menu. That's this. Well, this is populated because it's a Word doc, so I don't have the same functionality as an app. So I don't actually have this choice. Or I can open to where I left off, which means like maybe I left off here. And well, anyway, so there's this decision. And the question from the guy from Roboslav was, he said, when you make a database, this decision, it's part of the app infrastructure, but it's not data that people are entering into the database. I mean, it's information that's going into the database because what happens is the code, it's going to go into the database, it's going to look at the user, and then it's going to populate your app depending on what kind of information you have. So for example, if you have a bunch of projects, then your projects are going to be listed in the database based on your ID, the user ID, the name of the project, when it was created, and then there's something about the order sequence. So you can move like over here. So you can move see here, you can move the projects up and down. Now, another issue is this thing here. You see this little double arrow? I also want to save that inside of the database. And what does that do? So if you click that button, it will move the bottom part to the top, and then it will move the top part to the bottom. Why is that important? Let's say I click. So let's say I have the decision to always open where I left off. And let's say that I left off with this project. It's called name. Okay, so the project name is name. Now, let's say that I click this button. So it means that the project is at the top, and then this to create a new project is at the bottom. Why do I want to do that? It's because when I'm using my phone, when I'm using the mobile app, I want to be able to see the project view rather than creating a new project view. So that's going to be pushed down to the bottom, especially if you have a lot of projects. It's going to completely push this menu off of the screen. And so I want to be able to put that down at the bottom and just focus on this one project. All right, so I open where I left off, and I want this part of the main menu at the top. So Roboslav, he said, because when I showed him the project, there was that decision here in the project section. And then there's another one of these little thingamadoogs, little thingamajiggets in here. I can't do this. What's this? There's another one in here. So you see there's another arrow here. So once you create your objective and then you have a scoreboard for that objective, then you're also going to want to click this button. Why? Because it's going to put the scoreboard to the top. See, once you've been through the objective brainstorming session, you're going to create the task list. And then it's the task list that becomes more important. So that's what comes to the top of the page. All right, so we have two arrows and we have this little choice here. All right, so for all three of these decisions, if you put those choices, for example, if you put that inside of the scoreboard, this is a database which is going to be recording the information that the user has entered into their scoreboard. And he said the problem with putting that additional like element of like, do you want the scoreboard at the top or the bottom, is that imagine that you create an update of your app and then you're trying to migrate the data from one app to another app. There's going to be huge problems because this part of your app is only containing data, but then that third area is not containing data. It's containing a choice of the user interface of your application. And he said you should not store information regarding the user interface and how the user interface changes in the same area of the database which contains database information. I had no idea. So this is an example of I didn't know what I didn't know. And this is like when I didn't know what I didn't know could kill you. But it's not going to kill you today. It's going to kill you, in a year from now or 2 years from now when you find out that the structure of your app is really causing problems with migration into your new version of the app. So then I used ChatGPT. I said, can you give me, so we can come to the SQL editor. So you can see that in the first, all right, so this was the first series of data I used to create the first database. And then this is the second one, which pulled out those three decisions and created a new table. It didn't quite do it correctly, so I had to do another one with ChatGPT in order to fix that problem. All right, so we discussed generally how the app works. I mean, you should understand it by now, but I think new people might be watching these videos each time, so I think it's good to cover that again. Yeah, so then I explained how showed Roboslav the database, and he told me to separate the user interface database items from the data only parts of the database. Also, I guess it's called the business data. All right, good. So we talked about the database. All right, so now we go into the next touch base item. All right, so what are you working on? I'm still working on like how to open my computer and start working on the app and know which steps to take. I recorded how to open the terminal to get the React app going in the browser. And now I am going to connect the cursor app to the Supabase. All right, now what do you need help with? Well, I want the two to connect without problemos, and without cursor creating a million files and changes to the project. What are some potential sources of assistance? So I'm going to tell ChatGPT what I'm doing and ask for some advice. Okay, can you update a status? Can you update or delete a task? Is there a change to the timeline? Yeah, all that is related to like an objective or a scoreboard, but I don't have a scoreboard yet. I'm still working mainly with TouchBase. Okay, so next step objective? No. Yeah. So this is connect cursor to Superbase. There. So now you can see how the system works. It's keeping track of what I'm doing. It's helping me to think through with the steps. Now, okay, option you can if you suspect dependency issues, you can run install. Okay, I got all that. Okay, good. All right, so this is the main issue is all right, so I've opened cursor and cursor with the MP, what is it? Project management app folder, and I added the P product requirements document as a markup file, and I added the rules to it. Now I need to, now we're going to zoom to the very, very bottom. See, this is crazy, all that stuff in between. Because here's my, okay. So it's like, yeah, there's this thing about like doing a PM2, which can help to keep your, all right, so the issue I was just talking about is the terminal. You see the terminal is here. And when I turn my computer off, or if I close the terminal, then this is going to stop working. See, watch, I'll just do it. See, if we close the terminal, ding, ding, and then we refresh the screen, it dies. All right, so what we got to do is we go to the terminal, and then what? We follow our instructions. Put this there. All right, so that navigates to PM app. That's the folder. And then we do the npm start. Vroom, 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 vroom. See? Works. Okay. So I know how to do it. So we don't necessarily need to. All right, so now we're on milestone 3. Okay, so you need to enable your Superbase authentication. Go to authentication, confirm I did that. Create a sign up and login form in React. In your React app, create a simple form. That's collection. Okay, so I've opened the cursor with the PM folder. I added the markup and I added the rules to it. Now I need to create the sign up and login forms in React, in the React app, but I don't have any coding skills and I don't understand what to do. it looks like we're creating it looks like you want me to add that JS file to the SQL section of Supabase. Is that correct? Think about the best way to proceed. Do we create the changes in Supabase first using SQL editor, or do use cursor to communicate with Supabase to create changes there? What options do we have moving forward to work in a step-by-step way and reduce the possibility to zero that we will create code bugs in the code or need to make changes to foundations that we create now? All right, so what's the deal? So I don't even know what it's telling me to do. So I got, basically what I'm saying is I'm stuck here because it wants me to create this stuff in my React app using Supabase. So it wants me to add this JavaScript to the Supabase. I don't really know what that even means. And then, yeah, so basically there's all these issues, and I don't know how to input. Yeah, it's exactly where I am. This is exactly where I am. So the question is, how do I enter this JavaScript into my Supabase? How do I create these forms, these JavaScript forms? Let's clarify. All right, so you use Supabase authentication API from your React code to handle your sign-up. This SQL editor is only for setting up, modifying your database schema. It's part of your React app. Okay. Option A, use cursor to generate the React code. You can provide a prompt. Generate React component named auth form includes both sign up and login form of Supabase authentication. The component should have fields. Yeah, cursor will generate the code, which you can then paste into your React app. I don't know how to paste it into my React app. Follow the tutorial and use Supabase auth helper. Follow a tutorial. Jeez. Set up your Supabase client in your React app. Generate or write to basics. Okay. When I use cursor to generate the React code, where do I paste the code? I have the GitHub. Is it Git. I have the GitHub and Vercel accounts. I don't understand the work process moving forward. Also, cursor is not currently connected to Supabase using an API. Which step comes first so that everything is connecting properly? Do I need to use the React in the terminal and the browser, or can, yeah. What should be connected before we start creating code and changes? So, like I said, remember, like I think in one of my earlier videos, I said I was just going to fire everybody. Everyone's fired except for ChatGPT. And then, so we got ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, we need to hire Superbase. Okay, so workflow, environment, database setup. Your React app. You've already created your React app. Yes. Superbase database. Your Superbase is present in profiles and Superbase connection in React. You should have a file like Superbase client in your S folder. This imports the Superbase client library, connects to Superbase. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's end here because I got to take the dog outside. We're already late, and he wants to go outside for a run. This looks like a serious next step. So the next video is going to be we're going to be connecting Superbase to React. That looks like it's the next step. So yeah, thanks for coming with me on this. We'll catch you on the next day, whether that's tomorrow or whenever that's going to be. Thank you for joining me in Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates.